of Central Florida, you're listening to the most electrifying show in media, A Neighbor's Choice. I'm your host, your neighbor, David Gornoski. So glad to be with you again for hour 2 of our program, where we're rolling up our sleeves to solve problems neighbor to neighbor. That means we're not going to rely on DC to do our thinking for us. We're going to take charge of our lives, take positive steps each and every day to get things done and move the needle the right way. And that is why I'm excited to have a guest on the program who's been on before. She's been on both our podcast and this radio broadcast we're doing. She's a highly cited, highly regarded pioneer of the vegetable seed oil topic. She's been dispelling nutrition science myths and falsehoods for a long time. She's helped some of the award-winning pro athletes, folks that are household names like Dwight Howard and other folks that have been iconic figures in various nutrition and lifestyle categories. She's also the author of several best-selling books like Deep Nutrition and the Fatburn Fix. We have with us Dr. Cate Shanahan. How you doing?
Hi, David. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so great to have you on. Now, it's the beginning of a new year, so I always like to, focus on a lot of the topics that people, socially consider more often during the seasons. And one of the things a lot of folks deal with, well, there's two things that I wanted to maybe broach with you today on the nutritional side of things is the aspect of people wanting to have weight loss, transformation. They want to get through detoxing from maybe some of the junk food that people get into habits of eating in the winter, November, December, the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and so forth. And they want to reset. They want a whole new start. Let's go. And also a lot of people are also saying, how can I help with my mental health? And there are things I can do in my diet that will not only jumpstart my metabolism, but also at the same time help me in my mental outlook. Because the winter months can be pretty dark, a lot of lack of sunlight and so forth.
Those are two really important topics, and I definitely want to get into both of them. Right now is really a great time, actually, to be kind of revisiting the weight loss question and the detox goals, because right now is about when people's motivation for whatever they've started has probably started to decline a little bit, especially if they're not already seeing the kind of results that they'd been hoping for. And so I wanted to just kind of share with you a couple of my top tips on what I recommend for people for like detox and healthy weight, like a maintenance and a way to achieve it.
Sure. Any
time of the year, all year round. It's very, very simple. You don't have to follow any kind of a special diet. You don't have to even think about macros. What I found really works as a great, first step, right? This isn't for, the biohacker. This is for somebody who, it's like a regular person wants to lose some weight. I recommend focusing on don't snack. Do not snack. Simply not snacking takes away so much of the junk food that has actually got the toxic seed oils in them that through my research I've discovered are absolutely driving probably 80% of people's metabolic health problems. Mm-hmm. And those problems actually drive overeating, like an overactive appetite. So cutting out, just making a rule for yourself to not snack keeps you in the mindset of, okay, I'm going to have meals, right? So 3 meals a day. That's plenty. If you want to have less than 3, that's okay too, because intermittent fasting is kind of really a thing right now. And intermittent fasting generally means eating, skipping a meal or eating in a restricted time window. But I like to get people to first focus on just, let's see if you can get used to living without thinking about snacks and without, because it's such a messed up, a way to mess up your relationship with food and with your own appetite. And I don't say that to shame anybody for snacking. I'm saying that because if you're planning on snacking, you're going to snack. And there's no way that you can really stick with any kind of a weight loss program. You can't really easily lose weight if you're snacking. Studies actually show that eating more times per day, so more than 3 square meals, makes people think about food more. And guess what? If you're thinking about food, you're going to get hungry, right? You're going to convince yourself that you're hungry. And especially if you're thinking about a snack food. Other studies show that the more you think about food, a particular food, the more you crave it, right? So, we can create cravings just by thinking about a given thing that we might want to be eating, right? And so that's why I say that snacking is just a terrible, terrible habit. And getting rid of the snacking habit, focusing first and really only on getting rid of the snacking habit is an absolutely essential first step for sustaining any kind of a diet you want to follow in the long run.
Right. That's fascinating. So you think the snacking thing is the key issue. What about if you're eating healthy things like fruit or something? I was just eating a mandarin before the broadcast. Is that a good snack, or should you just cut all that out?
I really suggest cutting everything out. My mantra is there's no such thing as a healthy snack for anyone who's trying to lose weight. Because every time that you snack on something, in addition to the other things that I said, right? You start thinking about snacks, you kind of build in, I'm going to have a snack. So you start thinking about it, and it makes you eat, even if you're not hungry, even if you don't need food. You're already thinking about it. You've already built that in. You're going to do it. So you end up eating more than you need. And so that's one thing. But then another thing is the metabolic impact. And what snacking does is anytime you eat something, you're going to be burning those calories first. In other words, if you've been starting to burn any of the body fat that you want to lose, right, to lose weight, you got to burn body fat. And so if it's been 3-4 hours from a meal, that's when you start to burn some of your body fat. But if you're snacking again, you're going to stop that and start burning the calories that you just ate. So it makes it very difficult to burn your body fat, which makes it impossible to lose weight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now, what about the concern? We've talked about this a little bit before, and this is a little bit more in the weeds, but my audience is a mixture of both people who are new to this topic and also very fluent with the topic of the science behind what seed oils do to our body, that say, well, you don't want to burn too much fat because if it's that PUFA fat, polyunsaturated fatty acids, coming from the seed oil products that we're eating, that might cause deleterious effects on our health because of the nasty stuff that is released in the body when those are burned for fuel.
And that is absolutely a concern. And actually, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that right there is the whole reason I designed the weight loss program that I described in the Fatburn Fix. And in the book, I explain a lot of why I do this. A lot of the why behind, how you want to build a healthy meal. But the bottom line is, and I can tell you right now, tell your listeners so they don't have to read the whole book, the goal is you want to build a meal that will sustain your appetite and sustain your satiety, your sense of the opposite of appetite, keep you from being hungry between meals. So you build a meal out of healthy fat, and if you're going to have kind of carbohydrates, they should be what I call slow digesting. They release from your digestive system slowly and kind of trickle into your bloodstream. And that's going to give you enough energy to sustain you between meals, and it's not going to if it doesn't fully sustain you between meals, because you have the healthy fats and the slow digesting carbs, it will allow you to burn just a little bit of your body fat. And what you're trying to do when you're losing weight and burning your body fat, if you're concerned about PUFAs, which, I am, too much PUFAs, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, are toxic when you burn them. So the solution to any toxic problem is simple. Actually, it's a rhyme. The toxicologists have they like to rhyme, I guess. This is the rhyme. The solution is dilution, right? So if you have a lot of toxin that's released into your bloodstream all at once, that's bad. But if you just do a little bit at a time, your body can handle it better. And there's a couple other steps that you need to take in order to fortify your body's kind of detoxification systems so that it can handle the damage that burning polyunsaturated fatty acids will do. And I go over how to do that in the Fatburn Fix too. So nutritionally, there's an answer for all of the problems that our modern diet has caused. And, everybody knows that the modern diet is unhealthy. We talk about processed foods a lot. Like I'm just kind of going back on what are seed oils for some of the people who may not be so familiar with the concept. I have determined, or I've come to believe that the defining feature of what makes our modern diet so unhealthy is the seed oils, the vegetable oils like soy, corn, cottonseed, canola. You've probably talked about these a lot with other people. So people probably have heard them before, but they are the defining feature of processed food, and the reason the modern diet is unhealthy. Vegetable oils is another term for seed oils, and I've often said that they put the junk in junk food. Otherwise, junk food would just be empty calories. But with this, it's actually toxic. With the seed oils, it's actually toxic. And that's why it's so important that, you don't snack. Because if you plan to snack and say you don't have one with you, you're going to buy snack food. And snack food is junk food. And probably 99% of the snack foods on the market that are packaged goods will have some kind of vegetable oil in them. And that's just going to be making your metabolic recovery slower. It may even make your metabolic problems worse depending on how much you end up eating. But I did want to touch on something about snacking, right? Because I noticed a couple of years ago when I first told people not to snack, it seemed like I was stressing people out because they like snacking so much. And it turns out that snacking is our national pastime. I've been doing some research for my next book, and I've found surveys that show that 96% of Americans snack every day. So it's everybody. Everybody's snacking. So we love our snack food. So what I want to have people think about is why not just take some snacks that might be healthier, like nuts, especially raw nuts, or beef jerky, or string cheese, or those little cheeses that come in those tiny little rounds that are super cute, and you have to peel them. There's wax on them. I think it's called edamame cheese. Those are very healthy snacks. Just plan on a couple of those, mix and match some of those, your favorites, and plan that to be your meal, right? So that way you get to have your snack cake and also not snack between meals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, when you get people thinking about weight loss, there's always the debate about should you do low carb, low fat? Do you have a thought on that for folks who are like you said, it's been the end of January and people may be slipping on their New Year's resolution commitments if they're not getting results?
Yeah, so I really focus first and foremost on, I call it the basics. Let's first figure out what you can fit into your schedule, right? Because everybody's eating on the go, like in normal life. And one of the main reasons people start to slack off or at this time of year is that they've it's hard, right? Like to follow a diet often involves like more meal prep and more time than people have. And so they just start taking shortcuts, and eventually one day they just kind of give up. That's what I hear happens to most people. It goes like that. It's like, well, I started, having a hard time. I couldn't, meal prep, or I couldn't get it together, and I just kind of fell off the wagon, and then I kind of lost the momentum and gave up. So what I would suggest is don't worry so much about making everything from scratch. Focus first on like what you can eat that's really quick, that's also healthy. And I have some unbelievably simple ideas that I share with a lot of the people that I work with. One thing, better than an energy drink or an energy bar, a glass of milk, 2% milk. Well, if you have like 2 glasses of 2% milk, say you're so busy, you don't have time to do anything, if you have 30 seconds, you can chug down 2 glasses of 2% milk, and I guarantee that if it's at least 2%, meaning 2% fat, that fat in there is going to sustain you for at least as long as whatever you normally eat for lunch, if not longer. Milk is actually an extremely sustaining and nutritious food. And this, but we hear all the time that it's inflammatory or that it's fattening and unhealthy, it's got cholesterol, stuff like that. That is part of like the mythology of our culture that when I went through my own like nutrition learning transformation about 20 years ago now, I had to undo all that stuff. Like, and what I came away with after lots of research was that basically a lot of the myths around nutrition take us away from very healthy, very convenient food and make us rely on junk food and snack food because, we're told these super healthy, super convenient things are unhealthy when in fact they're like the best answer to most people's, busy schedules. Another super fast, easy, and inexpensive solution is just regular ground beef, like the non-lean kind, like the 70% ground beef, which is 30% fat. That's like by calories, that's like 50-50 protein and fat. Those two things are very sustaining. And so in a roundabout way, David, I am actually answering your question on like low carb, because carbs are not very sustaining. And if you want a fast, high nutritional value meal that doesn't cost much, focus on foods that have a nice mixture of protein and fat. And so milk is one, cheese is another, and ground beef is a third. Now, those are all animal products, so nuts actually work really well too. And just today I was having a conversation with the company that I work for, where I help Florida-based companies to help their employees eat healthy and lose weight. And I told a story on a meeting today about a former patient of mine who said that when he first started wanting to lose weight for a wedding. He didn't know anything about health. He actually didn't really care that much, but he had heard that almonds were healthy. And he didn't know how to cook. He didn't have time to do anything. But he could grab bags of almonds and bring them with him and have them for breakfast and lunch. And he sometimes had something else in addition to almonds for dinner. But he told me that he literally lived on nothing but almonds for 3 months and lost 80 pounds. And he felt fine. And almonds, when they're raw, they are quite nutritious. And it's a kind of like a whole food version of those expensive, brand name weight loss shakes and stuff that are all processed foods.
Yeah.
It has a very similar macronutrient profile.
That makes sense. That's very interesting. We're speaking with Dr. Cate Shanahan about different practical tools you can do that she recommends for getting your weight loss goals going in this new year. Her website is drcate.com. That's Dr. Cate with a C.com. And I wanted to ask you while we had you just to comment briefly on the mental health issues. Do the seed oils really drive, in your opinion, some of the issues with depression and despair and other things? Or is it just a small piece of a much bigger nutritional problem or puzzle?
Well, it's one of the two main nutritional problems. The other one being nutritional deficiencies generally, including protein deficiencies and mineral deficiencies in particular. But the seed oils absolutely very, very powerfully damage our neurological ability in so many ways. Like, I had to write an entire chapter in my first book, Deep Nutrition, about this issue. And the chapter is called Brain Killer, Why Vegetable Oil is Your Brain's Worst Enemy. And I go through like 7 different ways that seed oils damage your brain's ability to function. And just to kind of show light at the other end of the tunnel, the number one thing that I hear from people once they've gotten seed oils out of their lives is that they feel like they have more energy, particularly mental energy. That's what they're talking about. They mean they have more mental energy. They have more focus. They can concentrate better at work. And that translates for a lot of people into better moods, because there's like you can't really feel happy when you're feeling tired all the time, right? You don't have any like get up and go. You don't want to go out and do things. And very often you fail at tasks that you feel you should be able to complete, and you feel bad about yourself. So it just even lowers your self-esteem, which makes you more depressed. So getting seed oils out of your diet and getting a whole, real food, holistic kind of approach to nutrition back into your lifestyle is really the absolute best way to improve your mental health. And more doctors are waking up to this and doing, actually implementing it in for people with serious impairments that, like, basically bedridden with bipolar disorder, and it's helping.
Well, very good. Dr. Cate Shanahan, it's always great talking with you. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's always great talking with you too, David.
Very good. I want people to check out your books. They're all available at drcate.com. That's drcate.com. drcate.com. You can join up for her free basket of goodies from Dr. Cate when you go there, a free resource of all kinds of tools you can use. You can also check out her book, The Fatburn Fix, or Deep Nutrition, available now. So thanks again. We'll talk again in just a little bit and get some more helpful, practical tools for revitalizing our health. Stay tuned. A Neighbor's Choice. We'll be back with Surit Dasgupta.